Pinakamainit na tapatan, jaw-dropping plays, updates sa mundo ng sports, at exclusive stories mula sa mga athletes, coaches, and teams. DZRH TV Matchpoint. Welcome sa newest show ng DZRH TV. I am your host, CD Argarin, and this is Matchpoint. Kung dati napapanood nyo lang ang Matchpoint exclusive bilang online content ng DZRH TV, this time, mapapanood nyo na ang ating mga exclusive interview both sa TV at online. At para sa mga hindi nakapanood ng ating mga online exclusive interviews for our first 3 episodes, mapapanood nyo ang 3 sa ating best online episodes. At ngayong araw, makakasama natin ang isa sa top athlete ng Pilipinas at one of the best pole vaulters in the world, walang iba kundi si EJ Obiena. Let's all watch this. Kamusta ba? I'm good. How about you? Kamusta dyan sa Italy?
All good, all good. Weather's starting to look like summer.
Alright, have you been training habang nandyan ka sa Italy or are you preparing for a certain tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I'm competing as the day we're recording now, 29. I'm flying out of Italy on the 4th, going to Poland for a competition, starting my quote unquote European circuit.
Yeah, well, good luck, pare. We obviously, you have our full support dito sa Pilipinas. But right now, we're just gonna have some great time. We're just gonna talk about your career. And simulan na natin recently, SEA Games, 3-peat gold medal. First of all, congratulations. But what is that feeling like na makuha yung third straight mong gold medal in a tournament na alam naman natin, yes, you dominate in the past couple years, but still a very competitive tournament.
Thanks for, SEA Games is SEA Games. It's to me, this very important for the country. Going in, I have one job to do, was to bring back the gold, and I'm happy that I'm able to do so. And to be honest, it's I celebrated in a way. I think a few hours, like maybe 1 to 2 hours of ecstasy, happiness, bliss, whatever it is that you could call that. Then yeah, we're back to work because the day after my competition, I need to fly back here in Italy. We have a dream to chase. It's not gonna come to us. So I need to train, keep working hard, and yeah, there's a lot more championship this year.
Well, we can clearly see kung gaano kakagutom sa mga medalya. I mean, you're just coming off a gold medal win, and now your focus is on winning another tournament. Actually, in that SEA Games, correct me if I'm wrong, you recorded a new SEA Games record in 5.65 meters, right? Yeah, that was dope. That's awesome. So, dun sa 3 gold medal win mo, which is the hardest para sa'yo? Was it the first one or this year, kita natin, you dominated. I mean, you put up your new SEA Games record. So, which is the hardest, which is the sweetest victory out of all those 3 SEA Games titles that you have?
Probably the hardest one is in Vietnam. That was last year, I think. Having all that things going on in the background and try to perform and still compete for the country while a lot of things are kind of, floating around my head. It's a challenge. The most memorable probably would be, nothing beats jumping in front of a home crowd in the Philippines back in 2019. That's a rare opportunity for any athlete to compete in front of your kababayans and have my friends come and watch and jump in front of my parents, with my dad and mom, and be able to win in home soil. It's one of those memories I'll forever.
Oo, kakaiba kasi kapag no? Kaya I'm sure kakaibang feeling kapag yung buong arena talagang sa'yo nag-cheer. Pero hindi ba mas dagdag pressure yun? I mean, nakasanayan mo na sa ibang bansa ka lumalaban. So, automatically parang ikaw yung villain, quote unquote, sa story ng mga hometown
athletes nila. So, para sa'yo mas mahirap ba mag-compete sa harapan ng, home crowd mo o mas madali?
Um, I live during 2019. I think was mahirap mag-compete sa hometown
Yeah.
because the pressure's immense. It's immense. Like all the officials, you haven't even competed. They're like counting the medal already and all of that. Like I used to feel small because of that, but
Mhm.
I learned how to embrace pressure. Like I mean, your the title of the show is Matchpoint, so you're probably
Mhm.
very knowledgeable with tennis. I mean, Billie
Yeah.
Jean King basically said, pressure is privilege, and the way she explained it when I got to read her book, it was like you don't feel pressure if you're not about to do something historic, something
Mhm.
that is expected of you. Why is it expected of you? Because you have done that repetitive times. Your greatness is expected of you because you show greatness multiple times. That's the only time you feel pressure.
Yeah.
So instead of feeling that pressure, you need to embrace it. I'm here because I'm made to do this.
Well, you certainly
Yeah, I
lived
mean to
up
be
to their
able. Thank you.
expectations, man.
Thanks, man. I mean to be able to be in that position is it's a big privilege to have a shot to make history. Not a lot of people can do that. So make the most out of it.
Well, history naman talaga kasi yung nagawa mo in front of their home crowd. And right now, para lang sa mga hindi nakakaalam, EJ is, I believe, still the third ranked poll voter sa buong mundo. Am I correct? And what is that? How is that feeling? I mean, you're you're ranked along with some of the greats like Armando Duplantis and all these greats. How is that feeling for you?
That's good. It's nice. I I never thought I would be world number three. Never
Mhm.
thought I would do what I've done. But at the same time, there's always another peak that I want to achieve. So it's nice to be world number three, but it's better to be world number two. It's better to be world number one.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not saying, I don't know if I'll ever achieve that, but yeah, world number three is it's good. It's nice. I take pride into that, of course,
Mhm.
but I want to hopefully the next time we talk will be world number two, and hopefully in the near future we be world number one.
Well, I don't see a reason why not. So, pero ang gusto ko lang malaman is when you're one of the greats, when you're one of the best, that puts a target on your back. So, kapag ba nagko-compete ka, do you talk to your opponents or maybe do you feel it from them na they're targeting specifically you? They're targeting to take you down in the competition or yeah, how do you feel every time you compete and knowing the fact that you're world number three?
Oh, I'm still world number three, so the target on my back is not as big as world number one and world number two.
Yeah.
But kidding aside, most of the guys that I compete with in the circuit are either good friends of mine
Mhm.
or they're at least acquaintances. Um, of course, we are battling it out when it comes to competition, but it's never a feeling that they seclude me. At least not all. There's most
Yeah.
of the people that I compete with. Of course, I don't get along with everyone and everyone. That's impossible. But of course, most of the guys I compete in the circuit, we have mutual respect to our abilities, mutual respect as a person, and that for me is enough. I'm there to do my job, which is to compete. I do talk to them if they need my help. I help them as much as I can. It's a very fair, I would say, kind of sport because it's not like boxing.
Mhm.
Boxing, you need to think that you want to put this guy down.
Yeah.
We want to jump as high as we can on that day. And yeah, it's rarely does it shouldn't, but it does. Shouldn't the other people's performance should not hinder or affect yours. Though of course it does. I mean, it's the competition, but
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned that you're friends with a couple of them, and I know you faced a lot of the greats. But for you, who's the toughest competition you ever faced in a tournament?
Toughest competition. I
Yeah.
mean, all of these guys have mutual respect.
Mm-hmm.
All of these guys can jump high
Yeah.
any time of the day. But I would say the hardest guy to beat is, of course, Mondo.
Mm-hmm.
But mentally, I believe it's Sam Kendricks.
Why? Why those two?
I mean, Mondo is pretty clear.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT, you know? At a very young age, like he even has this nickname, he's born to fly.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't explain why he's hard to beat, having a world record at that age, have won everything that could be won at the sport, and still continue to push the world record, I don't know what would define unbeatable. Sam is a champion. He's a fighter. He has a certain way of thinking that he wants to win no matter what, and it's hard to beat a guy like that. And I do believe I am in some shape or form similar to him,
Mhm.
which is why we do get along from time to time. But when it comes to competition, we get to each other, and it's tough. He has that. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain, but he has that. He has that.
Yeah. Excuse me. Well, you're always facing the greats, and ika nga nila, sharp iron sharpens iron, so it shows kung bakit nga naman isa ka sa mga premiered pole vaulters sa buong mundo. But now let's go back to your career. This year, you've already won the gold in Copernicus Cup. You had the gold in Perche and or indoor tournament in France, and you had the silver in staff indoor Berlin. And so far, you've had these great accolades, but obviously nowhere near yet sa 2022 run mo, where you won 17 total medals. 12 of them are gold medals. So, what are your preparations? What are the things that you've been doing different this year to at least come close to that another almost perfect run this year?
Well, this year the goal is not to have a perfect run.
Mm-hmm.
It's to test out, maximize the potential for 2024.
Yeah.
What that means is I'm not gonna be pushing so much competition for the rest of the year.
Okay.
We need to remember last year I was trying to huddle up points so I can get as high as a ranking as I can, and that's one of the reasons why I kept competing, which is a good thing, But right now it's quality and test my ability to perform under pressure and get experiences because I'm moving my run now to 20 steps.
Yeah.
And this means, it's a new rhythm, it's an extra speed that I need to manage under pressure. And these are the things that I need to understand now this year, better than feeling and understanding it next year where it's Olympics.
Yeah.
So I want to get it down, dialed it down this year, understand how my body adapts, how am I adapting to this two extra step going into meets when I'm under pressure. So, I mean, last year I did, like you said, 17 competitions or more. I'm probably just doing 10 this year,
Okay. So
not considering the championships as well.
we're working more on the quality of your game, as they say. So that's interesting that you mentioned the upcoming 2024 Olympics, because the last Olympics you competed in that one as well. So tingin mo ano yung growth mo so far that you think would be a factor for you having a better campaign in the upcoming Olympics compared to the previous Olympics that you competed in Korea?
Um, I mean, I have more experience, that's for sure. I'm not going into Tokyo. I mean, I went to Tokyo Olympics as it's my debut. I've never been in such big competition. I've never really even understand what is Olympics. I've never experienced it. Now that I've experienced it, I think Paris would be different just because I have this experience going into meets. And like you said, I compete with the best of the best now. It's a different feeling knowing that, I belong here. I belong with these guys. I'm one of the top dogs here, so I hope I would be in the best shape when it comes to that, and mentally, physically would be in, optimal condition to be able to execute the best that I could, and hopefully be able to bring back a medal back home.
Yeah, well, hang on. I just want to correct myself. I said Korea. I meant Tokyo. Tokyo Olympics. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, Tokyo Olympics is such a big deal. We saw Heidelin Diaz creating history there. But what is that like competing in general? You know, as an athlete, as you know, a guy who just started. I'm sure you started pole vaulting just a hobby, just you know, a sport to have. But what is that like, you know, to be able to compete at the higher stage at that point of your life?
That was something I've never expected.
Yeah.
Like I've never the pressure that was there in that competition is incredible. And just the feeling of competing at the highest level, um, being in Olympics is in itself very daunting. And I think pressure kind of got a bit better of me, and I've learned a lot of things. I've learned like okay to make sure that all my equipments are set up and able to travel without stress, and you know getting all these little things that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wouldn't say Tokyo was a massively um, different arena per se.
Yeah.
I think World Championship is just as big as Olympics,
Olympics.
but Olympics is the pinnacle of track and field.
Yeah.
You with tennis it's the Grand Slams, but for us it's the Olympics.
Yeah. Alam naman natin pag Olympics talagang, you know, you can't, it's hard to compare it to other leagues as well kasi ito na yung pinaka malaking stage no matter what other people say. So kudos to you for competing there, and I want excuse me, I want to see you again sa 2024 Olympics. But let's step away a little bit sa career mo. Let's talk about your life in general. Excuse me. So, pole vaulting, hindi to parang basketball na pwedeng laruin dito sa Pilipinas. Kung saan, kung kahit saan. 'Di ba? Alam naman dito sa Pilipinas, it's basketball or volleyball or eventually nung nagkaroon ng Manny Pacquiao, it's boxing. But pole vaulting isn't really a sport na talagang pinapasok ng mga kabataang Pinoy. So, how did you start uh, playing pole vaulting or doing pole vaulting, and did you play other sports then? Did you play basketball? I assume you did kasi ang taas mo tumalon eh.
Well, my dad was a pole vaulter, so I started uh, goofing around in the stadium while he trains. At the end of his training, he'll help me out, really just for fun, as a kid to try the sport. That pretty much how I started. Nothing special. I mean, there's no secret that, I grew up in Tondo. I was raised by a family of athletes, and that definitely helped, be introduced to a very niche sport.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, one of my goals is hopefully it doesn't quote unquote remain as a niche sport. Hopefully it becomes mainstream in some way, which I would like to see in my lifetime, hopefully.
So, what was it like, you know, being a pole vaulter? I mean, growing up as a pole vaulter, ano yung mas naging, siguro nakita mong iba and the way you know, handled growing up? Were you getting bullied by other kids because of this, or what was that like?
Well, a lot of people didn't understand what sport am I doing. And of course uh, I was not one of those cool kids growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a smooth. I wouldn't say it was all smooth sailing as a young kid doing pole vaulting, but it wasn't pole vaulting per se that influenced the way my peers interacted with me. It wasn't like that. I was just tiny. I was just very small. I graduated high school and I was like, what, 5'1". So I didn't have my growth spurt until I was already in college
Yeah.
or university. So yeah, I mean, people tend to I mean, bullies or people, they either bully you because you stand out or you're just different, and I'm definitely not the mainstream kids, and at least my size as well is
Yeah.
pretty, I was in that very susceptible group of people from bullying. I wouldn't say it affected that much. I mean, it definitely made me understand a little bit more about myself and stand up for what I believe in and stand up for myself. But
Mhm.
it pole thing not doesn't necessarily have influenced that part of my life, I would say. Though it has influenced the way I decided at a very early age because I saw pole vaulting as a way for me and a means for me to go to good universities, such as, USD, Ateneo, or the Big Four. So I took pole vaulting more seriously, and of course, I made sacrifices. I didn't go to prom because I had a competition. And, I
Wait,
saw
what?
that I needed to
You
do
didn't
that.
go to
Yeah,
prom for a competition?
yeah. I needed to do that competition because, I mean, the scouts, the coaches of these universities will be watching, and I want to dominate. If I want to get a full ride, I mean, full ride means 100% scholarship. If I want to get that, I need to get their attention for them
Wow.
to see that I have potential for the UAAP or NCAA.
That has to be one of yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that has to be one of the best sacrifices I've ever seen an athlete do. I mean, a prom. I mean, yan yung mga hinahabol talaga natin ng kabataan eh. Was that tournament successful for you though? Was it worth it?
Putting it at that time, it made all the sense. Like it really did. I got into the school that I wanted to go in.
Yeah.
I got the scholarship that I wanted to get, and I had the pride to say to my peers that, my parents are not paying for my school. I put myself to
So
university. I
yeah,
put myself
worth
to
it
this,
nga naman. Tama.
Yeah. So it
Worth it.
was it was definitely worth it. But looking back, I mean, I would love to go back
To go
and
to
at
prom.
least experience the prom, but I don't know what, that's the thing. I can't relate now to people like, oh, you remember the prom? Like, I was not there.
Yeah.
We had a reunion like a few months ago, and people were talking, everybody's like talking about prom, like, hey guys, I can't relate because I was not there, but yeah, I think it was cool.
Pero worth it naman eh. At the end of the day, yun nga lang. Talagang wala kang makikukwento na prom experience. So, you already mentioned yung competition na mas inuna mo kaysa sa prom. But other than that, you've had countless tournaments, countless wins, countless losses. But for you, which is the best one out of all those wins, out of all those gold medal, silver medal wins that you got? Which is the best win you've ever had in your career? And while we're at it, dagdag na rin natin, which is the most painful loss that you've ever had?
Oh, the most painful loss. I'll give you three. I'll give you three.
All right.
The worst would be Tokyo Olympics because I knew I was capable of podium at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And it
kasi
was a
naalala ko nun,
bittersweet.
like, you were one of the guys na inaasahan. I think PSC or said it or POC na, expecting to at least win a bronze, the very least. So yeah,
And it
that has
was
to be
it was
painful.
tough because I felt like I crumbled. I questioned the entire essence of my my athlete life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to hang it. I was like, I might not be built for this. I might not be capable of doing this at that time. So that would be number one. Yeah.
So that it gotten that bad na consider mo yung retirement after
Yeah,
losing
I
such.
mean, so I mean, I'll give you a little bit of perspective of that. It's because I was out there to win gold. I was
Mhm.
not there to participate. I was not there to enjoy experience Olympics. I was there to do a job. And the whole season I've been performing spectacularly, consistently, and no doubt, yeah. And I go to qualification and jump 575. You expected a bigger stage. At the final, I should jump higher,
Mhm.
but I didn't. I jumped less, 570. then I started to think like the rest of the season I've jumped higher than this. And the bigger stage of my sporting career, I crumbled. What happened? And the whole discussion about that, it kind of pinpoint to my identity as an athlete. Am I the athlete that shies away from pressure,
Yeah.
tend to, to shrink as the pressure rises, or am I the one who, grows as the pressure grows, I perform even better. That was something that I felt like I couldn't learn this even if I wanted to. Oh yeah, I was questioning if I could compete at that level that I want to be in. So the rest of the season was kind of a redemption in a way that it meant a lot for me the rest of the competition, though it's not as big of a pressure. It meant a lot for me to jump higher. If I'm not able to do that, then why bother continue? So that was the worst. I would put the second one would be probably Asian Games 2018. That one was pretty tough because I was going back from surgery from ACL reconstruction in 2017, and I was asked to represent the country and be there, and I felt like I didn't do justice to that representation. I only cleared my opening height. I fumbled in a way, and I mean, long story short, I didn't medal. Let's just put it that way. So I take that to myself, and probably the third one would be not being able to participate in KL Sea Games due to a torn ACL. So that would be my top three worst competitions, I would say. Yeah, worst losses, but definitely I've learned the most in those three.
Well, obviously it benefited you because now look at you. Now, now a lot of people are. By the way, I'm glad that you didn't retire, because I still believe that you can win a medal in the Olympics, a gold medal in the Olympics, and I hope we could see that in the 2024 Olympics. I can't wait. I'd love to see that redemption. But what's the sweetest win for you, though?
So it is. All the Sea Games are sweet. All the championships are good. The sweetest win would be still the World Championship.
Yeah.
That was it wasn't just a simple win. I even wore a sock that kind of embodies, like I embodied this. Like I might be nice, but I am a monster as well. Like if I need to be, and sa tondo, I don't know if you guys know that. Like marunong ka rin dapat maging quote unquote marunong ka maging like you know how to be a monster when you need to be. It's like there's a saying, it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener, in a war. So I felt that, and I felt like I was under in so heavy battle, and I felt like all the things that was happening, I was done in that year in 2022. I prove a lot of that wrong, and that vault, that medal, winning the first world championship medal for the country in the history of Philippines is just a proof that all the Filipino people that supported me all throughout whatever happened in 2022, it was worth it. They didn't fight for an athlete that cannot win, and I needed to show that big time, and that's why I felt that win was the sweetest, though it has bitterness as well, but that win definitely helped me how do you say, prove to myself first that I can perform under pressure, especially the bigger the pressure it is. Like all the things I've learned from those recent losses feel like cultivated there. And just finishing the season with a new Asian record, winning the first medal could not have been better unless I won silver or gold. So yeah, it was one of those moments, I would say. And I mean, it's hard to not put Brussels there. Being able to win my first Diamond League as well, the same year where
Ang daming choices eh.
where
Right?
well,
Daming
it's
choices eh.
it's like I have a lot of different wins, but all of them are sweet in a certain way. It's like I've won Innsbruck in 2021,
Yeah.
and that was also very sweet for me because it was the first Asian record. That
Every
was
win
nice
has a
in
story,
Philippines. Exactly. And I do have favorite, like it's not favoritism, but I do remember this World Championship to be one of the most historic, I would say.
Obviously, historic naman talaga yung nagawa mo nun. And all throughout your career, you've been nothing but historic for the Philippines, EJ. And that's history for now. That's history for this episode. Again, EJ, thank you very much for joining me on this one. I'll give you some time, give a shout out, thank everyone, and maybe let the people know what's next for EJ.
First I want to say thank you for everyone who's listening, to all the Filipino people who've been following my journey. It's a lot of things, but definitely not smooth. And thank you for sailing with me in all of this, and hopefully better days will come. So for all my sponsors, thank you for making all of these possible. I mean, clearly, you guys have bailed me in a lot of different places and have made it possible for me to keep up with all of these, pole vaulters that are raced in such different circumstances. Thank you. And what's next for me is I'm gonna go out, start my European circuit from Bydgoszcz on the 6th. Then I'll be flying in Bergen, Norway on the 10th. Then I'll be in Oslo Diamond League on the 15th. So that will be my first series of competition. I'm going to test out my full approach, my new full approach, and I'm pretty stoked, pretty excited, and hopefully I'll be able to bring some good news back home.
And that is it for our first episode. Again, EJ, thank you very much for coming here to the show, and good luck, pare. Sana maging successful yung career mo, and sana sunod nating kita ay sa 2024 Olympics na, di ba? And this is it for our first episode sa Matchpoint. Again, I am CDR Green, at samahan niyo uli kami sa susunod na episode next week. Pinakamainit na tapatan, jaw-dropping plays, updates sa mundo ng sports, at exclusive stories mula sa mga athletes, coaches, and teams. DZRH TV Matchpoint.